Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar for August here. This gives a few minutes. People are piling into the virtual room. We'll be starting momentarily.
Scott, the high dropped from 106 to 96. So
we're wow, relief. It's cold. Everyone's wearing their down coats.
Yep. So I got long sleeves on today.
It actually here this morning was 57 degrees this morning. I was like, gosh, I haven't seen temperatures below 60 in a long time. It's
awesome.
kind of like, oh, it's chilly. I put long sleeves on as well to go to the gym. So, all right. Well, the Ali Scott weather broadcast is over now, and I won't start out with the news. Welcome back, everybody. Near the end of the summer, but don't forget, September seems always warmer than normal. It seems like the summer's shifted and made longer lately. But anyway, so we're going to get started here, August 21st here, and today we're going to be talking about multiple things here. One is energy market update, as always, but really an important call here, especially with everyone PJM customers, on kind of the PJM capacity and kind of the things that went on there back since our last webinar. I think it's July 30th. Those numbers were released for the PJM capacity, how much they exploded. So we're going to give some ideas on kind of how to work with your customers on that, but also more importantly, just importantly, how to increase your business and off of it and leverage the news. So with that, again, my name is Scott Emily. This is Ellie Coldaway as well with me here. And I'm going to let her get started here and talk about Box here. Go ahead, Ellie.
Awesome, thanks, Scott, and thank you everybody for joining us this fine Wednesday morning. I hope if you're in Texas like me and you're enjoying the false fall, I think it's called, with a high of only 96. I wanted to take a minute to go ahead and introduce Broker Online Exchange in case you guys don't partner with us yet, you have no idea who we are. Broker Online Exchange is your ultimate commercial energy brokering partner. So our entire purpose is to provide independent energy brokers and affiliates with access to top electricity and natural gas suppliers, instant pricing, and cutting-edge software, all supported by industry experts. Vox has become the largest network of energy agents, brokers, and consulting firms in North America. We connect a variety of diverse energy partners so they can each benefit from streamlined, efficient options in deregulated gas and electricity markets. You can see how you can scale your energy business nationally with the deregulated energy map that we have up on the screen right now. So you'll see natural gas markets available in green, natural gas and electricity markets available in blue. And then you'll see a lot of states throughout the Midwest and the West that are marked as limited availability. They're that darker color. So the lower 48 is deregulated for natural gas, period. But in these markets, these limited availability markets, only commercial and industrial customers have the right to shop. These are not choice markets. So unfortunately, residential and small medium business customers have to stay with the utility. But if you have a customer that is transporting gas, if you have a large manufacturing customer or somebody, somebody on that scale, somebody who's industrial, then there may be some options available to them. If you have a customer in one of these areas, and really any of these areas, we do have supplier partners who are here to help. We have systems who are here to help. We have resources for you. So go ahead and send them over if you have customers in any of these areas. Another one of the benefits of working with Vox is that we have that large network of partner suppliers. And on the next slide here, you'll see that we are partnered with 90+ top energy suppliers. You'll see some familiar names like Direct Energy and Engie and Hudson and Champion. And you'll see a bunch of names that maybe you don't know, smaller regional suppliers that lend us their niche expertise. We partner with all of the big names, and we partner with guys who may be able to be a little bit more flexible than some of the big names. But either way, we are happy to put those relationships to work for you. The majority of our executive management comes from the supplier side and has been in the business for a very long time. And so again, have very strong relationships in this space, and we're happy to put those relationships to work for you. The other benefit, or another benefit, of working with Box is that you get access to our strategic solutions team. So the Box strategic solutions team is here to allow every partner to become a full service consultant. We offer a huge suite of services just with the goal of supporting you and making your brand bigger and better. Buying electricity and natural gas can be really complex, and with complexity comes the possibility of customers signing things that they don't know, they don't understand. We were just talking about some of the capacity treatments, which we'll go into in a little bit as far as all of our updates with what happened with the capacity market in PJM since we last spoke. But we were looking at reading through some contracts and looking at that language, whether it's fixed, whether it's adjustable, whether it's a monthly true up or something that works out annually, whether it's a fixed tag or whether it's fixed known values, whatever it is, these contracts are like reading a different language. I tell our team all the time that reading energy bills and reading energy contracts really truly is like learning a foreign language. And the more fluent you can become, the more valuable you are. But anybody who needs those educational resources, anybody who's working with a complex client, maybe you need to know what a good product is for them that will perform really well. Maybe you need to design something really specific around their usage patterns. Maybe that customer has some specific ESG goals, or they're looking to incorporate renewables into their procurement strategy. That's also something we can help with behind energy sustainability strategy and benchmarking. We do have resources where we can help orchestrate RFPs, draft RFPs, hold the customer's hand throughout the entire bidding process and supplier selection process. And we also specialize in pricing optimization and contract analysis and negotiation. As I mentioned, our executive management team has deep, deep experience in the energy industry. They've written these contracts, they've built these pricing models. And so they're really looking to bring that inside edge that they previously used to benefit the supplier to the consumer and give our customers the best contract terms and the best pricing, the best products, and the best relationships available in the marketplace. So I think that's a good overview of Box. Like I said, if you don't work with us yet, the application form is right on the website. We're happy to talk to you guys. We have a huge team that is all here to support independent brokers and energy agents like yourselves. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it back to Scott for our energy market update. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Thank you, Allie. So let me go into energy market update. First of all, this is as of yesterday's close, the calendar strip prices for power. This is the calendar year, so this is 2025 around the clock power. Just as a kind of reminder here, that means that this is not necessarily this is the wholesale price. It doesn't have shaping for the customer's load and risk adders and all that stuff. So you really almost impossible to get this price here alone. But this is a good indication of where the prices are and also kind of the movement in pricing. And you can see here for gas, we had a move down, but power kind of moved down even more. Look at ERCOT here, down 460 in 2025 and 2026, 27. We'll go get into that in a few minutes here, a little bit more why. PJM down as well, the markets there. NEPOL down big as well in 2025. Helped with the LNG decrease across overseas because we are competing with LNG in NEPOL with the markets over in Europe. So in general here's a PJM West Hub. This is kind of historical prices here for PJM West Hub, and just kind of again shows really the big move up we had earlier in the year. Data center stuff, we were discussing it back in the January webinar when prices were here, that this is going to be a thing, and of course markets moved up. We're not the ones that catalyst, the major news sources picked it up as well around here, and everyone started buying here and hit these levels up as we see up here, 27, 28. But those are the highs. We've since have come off as LMPs have come in, and we thought this got really euphoric here, and this is the data center euphoria here, and really here. And now I think it's a great opportunity right now to hedge. You look at, we're at these lows here for the past 2 years almost. and really good opportunity. And this is kind of similar in almost every market right now. You'll see out there that this is kind of around these 2-year lows again after we hit this big highs up. So this didn't necessarily go away. Yes, it got over its skis here a little bit, but this did not go away. This is still a story. This is still something happening. And now we just come down to earth. And I think really, to be honest with you, I think a lot of hedge funds got kind of crazy, didn't know what they're doing. They don't really do power that much at hedge funds, even though I used to be at a hedge fund trading power. Trust me, there's not many people doing that at hedge funds, and I think they got overzealous and bought this up, and then it started selling off, and they had to get out. So they had to puke out their long positions, and now they're neutral, and the markets come back off. I think it got a little oversold now for the conditions that are there. That being said, here's PJM index now, looking at this, and this is really, here's the forward cert prices to look at this kind of comparison. Index prices are the prices of, like the historical chart we just showed at PJM, that's the forward market curves of the forward markets trading historically. Index is showing how it's clearing on, those every hours, where it clears at, and then I think the average of that for the month, and this is what we get. This is the chart we get. So you see how these index prices. So if you're an index customer, this is kind of more what you've been paying. You get these high swings up here. Whoops. These high volatility swings up here. And then you had like kind of lower prices down here, but you have risk. That's your risk. And the 5-year average here, 39.40, 34.11, we're much closer in. I mean, this 5-year average has been hanging around these low 40s, 39 area, even when these prices hit up near $60. So we've kind of come back in again, a little more fair value levels. Last 12 months at 34.11. That's with like much cheaper gas prices as well. So with that, ERCOT, similar thing, and ERCOT really is, what's remarkable about ERCOT is how this last 12 months, look at this plunge here. That's because this August went off the board. So this dropped from like $49 down to $32, $31, $18 drop in the 12-month rolling average in ERCOT. So with that, that's why you have huge price drops. I think everyone's just kind of comparing these indexes, and really this summer is not, anywhere near where it was the last 2 summers. Even the last 2 summers, we're not really kind of coming in at the same sort of levels. And despite the fact that it's been pretty hot there. I've been to Dallas a few times this summer. It's been extremely hot. I hear about it being really hot. And even in a day, so here's the forward curve prices, which are pretty matched up with the 5-year trailing average. Although if you probably take out this winter storm Uri, we're down close to like about a 43, 44 average. But I'll tell you, I'm going to applaud ERCOT because they are, basically handling, these higher loads without really any major situations. And here's a snapshot down. This is really kind of interesting. A snapshot of ERCOT on a peak load. This is from Monday when it was 106 degrees out. And this just shows you where the peak of the load, where the peak of the prices are coming in at. And the reasons why is that the load isn't necessarily peaking out here at this, time period here between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. But the problem is the sun, starts falling, and this is when the prices soar, because now you have to ramp it up because this is a bigger drop than what the load is dropping. I mean, you look at this over really, an hour period, we have about a 12 gigawatt drop in the solar generation, and the load probably only dropped a few megawatts. So with that, bam, you have to have all these peaker plants that come on really just for a few hours. And those are really expensive to run. No one's going to run those cheap. And with that, you get these higher, this is a real-time chart. This is the day ahead. But still, this day cleared under $100. I mean, for a 163 day, that's really not bad. This is the only real issue is right around that time. But it's interesting how this has shifted. I mean, the peak, 5 years ago would easily, or even a few years ago, would have been more like around that 5 to 6 o'clock period. Now it's 7:30 to 8:30 period. And it's interesting because these are good times to good ways to strategize around this, especially for your very large customers, to work on some strategies on to optimize on this and on the way you're procuring your energy. So with that as well, let's go to US natural gas storage here, and wow, this is really, we were up here, a huge surplus, and now we're not. We just had a negative basically withdrawal, a very rare withdrawal in the summertime. I've only seen it happen a few times, actually. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more of that. I think I've got it as a list of the topic to discuss in a future webinar, but we're going to start seeing it probably more and more in the summertime. We'll have these things, and we've come close actually more than this time. But with increased LNG exports and higher natural gas usage in a generation, really these injections have been weaker, and that's why we've seen this kind of come through. We are at healthy levels. We'll probably still be right around this 3.9 area, which is a very healthy level going into the winter. But even really, think even like a normal temperature winter, we're going to be could be pushing down to where we'll be hitting around the below the 5-year average at the end of the winter, which is going to keep prices in check. Definitely will keep prices in check here, and will likely even cause some increase in the prices. Natural gas rig count, same story we see every time. This is declining. Really indicates that these producers are being very cautious. They're being very disciplined, much more than years past. And this is down. Usually there's a leg here of 6 to 8 months, but this is actually as high as 160 about. You look back to like May of 23. So really over the last 15 months, this is down almost 70 on the rig count. Yes, these rigs are more efficient as well. But then we look at natural gas production. Again, it's showing its discipline. We've had years of growth here, but really become stagnant more recently. This is really showing that discipline, trying to the flexibility kind of in their ability to kind of ramp up and down the load, ramp up and down the drilling, cap wells. They're not going to just sell gas to get cash anymore. They're going to wait till they're making money on it. And with that, there's more of a higher floor now than in recent past. So something to be cognizant of as well. And we're kind of relatively near that floor as well. And then LNG exports. I know we've had some slides on this before where it's been kind of really hard to read. I tried to make this much clearer this time. And here we are currently at 13.6, and this is where during these years, these calendar years, where we expect to be. And so this is almost double, right? I think it's a little over double by end of 27 than where we're at now. So the question is going to be, we need this gas. We're already kind of running where injections are less than they used to be. And so we're going to have to get 13, 14 BCF of gas more being drilled and being produced, or else there is going to be some much higher prices. So this is something to really keep an eye on. But also just want to put another story out here that's been kind of circling out there, is that there's been some recent financial challenges by project developers, higher development costs, and so some delays going to be happening in completion of some ongoing projects. These will get completed though. The ones that this 27.4, these are all projects that are out there approved, and a lot of them under construction already. So these will get finished because there is the arbitrage opportunity, meaning there's a large enough difference in price from what they can buy it at, ship it, and what they can sell it at. And I'm talking the forward markets as well. So there is a good reason to do that, to complete the projects, and so they will get completed. It is economics in the end. But after 27, the growth trajectory for these new projects, it should decelerate. We're not going to see another doubling in 3 years from this 27.4 to 54. We may see by 2030 at 29 or 30 BCF. I'll put it that way. So this will get done, but this growth trajectory will probably slow down. But the two questions are out there. Do we have the gas to be able to ship this much? How are we going to be able to get that? And number two, is the world even going to be able to swallow up this much? And there's LNG projects going all over. China is increasing their LNG imports, but really that's some major questions that are out there. And so finally, just want to again remind everybody, strategic risk management, that's really kind of one of our specialties here. We work with any customers you have over, 3,000 kilowatt hours a year. We'll get really in depth in details. We got presentations we can do, put together for you guys. We got these charts. We can get on customer calls. And then something like this is and we have this flyer available. This asks for it. I think it's on our website even. This is called a layered hedging strategy. It's something that we really utilize heavily with our customers over 5,000 megawatt hours. Big corporations is really common. 81% of Fortune companies utilize this. This is a common thing that I use throughout the last 15 years. I've been using this over 15 years, been using this strategy heavily with larger customers and also internally when I was hedging a book. So really, so these are just for customers over 5,000 megawatt hours. And one last thing as well, all these charts that we show here, eventually they're going to be in our portal. But also in the meantime, anything you need, just ask us. We have these charts available. We've updated charts, not just on the webinar here, but also we have them available. Just have your AEs work with our desk here. We can get these out to you, any format, anything you need. Our goal is the same as yours, and that's to close business. So we have that common goal this year. Let's work together. And Allie, I'm now going to let you take it over for a very important update here on the PJM capacity. Go ahead, Allie.
Awesome, thank you, Scott. So as probably everybody knows, we have had some big news in PJM since we last talked. So let's dive in. PJM capacity prices have absolutely exploded. You can see that we have, a 10x factor here, where capacity prices for June 2025 to May 2026 increased, just substantially across all zones. And every utility looks like this. There's really nobody who is exempt, unfortunately. There's no, New Jersey doesn't have it worse than Ohio for once. But really, truly, guys, these cost increases are coming. Suppliers are looking at how to price, any terms that get into the June 2025, May 2026 tenor. Anybody who is in a fixed agreement may be seeing some adjustments. We'll look at that in just a little bit. But the big story is that costs are going higher. And really, truly, the reasons why are because of load growth. We've talked some, it's also due to generation requirements and changes to the capacity accreditation. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But just so you guys know, PJM has been going through a little bit of the same thing that we have seen in ERCOT. We did a deep dive into ERCOT, I think it was 2 webinars ago, and we talked about all of the load growth due to population growth, due to data centers, due to all of the crypto activity that we have been having around Texas specifically. And really, PJM is suffering through some of those same things. They are also seeing all of their demand increases. They are also having to re-release and rework their forecasts just due to that load growth. So just so you guys know, it's not just a Texas thing. It is in fact a Texas and Illinois and Ohio and New Jersey and Maryland and Pennsylvania thing. The thing I wanted to actually, Scott, if you'll go back one sec, I wanted to ask you about the changes to the capacity accreditation because of the reform implemented by PJM. I think that's something that I've only seen a little bit of, but can you give us like the big takeaways from that reform? Because if the program itself changed, then that also really does help justify this increase.
Yeah, it's a lot of the way of how really demand response is being treated, how solar and renewables have been treated, and what can be kind of things. So there's really less, in a sense, almost like less generation that really can be qualify to participate in it. So and then this kind of the accreditation of it, a little bit of the makeup of the stuff. This is why this was delayed. The auction was delayed forever because usually there's like these 3 years ahead. So this auction would have normally taking place in 2 years ago, in May of 22. So, so we're now just getting back on track with these. That, you know, this has been debated for years now, and the auction delayed because of judicial kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's just, you know, with that, there's a little less stuff that's out there, a little bit different rules, and yeah, so that kind of helped increase it. It's a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to make sure we all, you know, understand, and I mean, everybody on this call should understand. But the reason because we talked about ERCOT, I just want to make an apples and oranges comparison here. ERCOT works on a scarcity market, and we did touch on how other markets behave, that there is a capacity component that goes towards building out generation, maintaining generation, ensuring that it's available at these peak times. So really that's what this cost is all about, is ensuring that availability, ensuring grid reliability. So it's incredibly important, and regulators are working really hard to make sure that we're balancing, you know, all of the renewables coming online the grid with dispatchable assets as well, which is, you know, the part of this story where we're maybe requalifying a little bit. But,
yeah, I mean, I just want to add to that. It just really kind of comes down to the choice of blackouts and brownouts, or you know, enough capacity. It's kind of that insurance policy, right? So, and yes, it gets excessive at times, but that's a signal of the market.
I mean, that's the thing is, if we, you know, everybody really tends to take for granted that whenever you turn on a light switch in a room, that the light comes on. And, you know, as long as that's the world that we want to live in, where there's as much power as we need to use it however we want, whenever we want, then, I mean, these are some of the things that we're going to see to try to balance that demand. The big story here, though, is that costs are going to go higher for everyone. So we have a sample customer on our next slide here. And there's a couple different things here. You'll see basically a sample customer, and these are the capacity costs as example per megawatt hour. So you can see that those costs really fell off after the year 2021, 2022, and that they've been really low from 2022 through, I mean, mid 2025 really here. And those are looking at, you know, the 4 mil, 2.5 mil in a capacity cost, and then you can really see that jump. So as those figures jumped 10x just in terms of the auction, so too is your customer's cost of their capacity obligation. Doesn't necessarily mean that their tags are changed, even if they just continue using electricity the exact same way that they have been over the last 5-10 years. They are still going to see this jump due to these changing values. And that jump from 2.5 mils up to 2.193 cents in kilowatt hours is substantial. It's going to hit everyone. And the big thing to remember is that even when contracts specify fixed pricing, almost every supplier includes language stating that prices can be subject to adjustment if capacity prices increase. We also see this language whenever it comes to transmission, whenever it comes to NITs, TOTs. We occasionally see it when it comes to RMR and other components. And there are different products that treat capacity different ways. We're working on building out that product suite behind us, and we're working with suppliers who, you know, some of whom are offering a couple different flavors here. And really, it just depends on the customer, depends on their goals. But they need to know that any pricing set before July 30th in PJM that includes capacity is going to see a significant increase if the contract term extends past June of 2025. Those adjustments are going to start appearing on invoices starting June of 2025. So that's the other silver lining here. There's a couple silver linings that we'll talk about just in terms of having these conversations and helping your customers to understand, helping them to navigate this new world of cost. And then we have a couple really good figures just on this slide before we move off of it. For those of you who aren't so familiar with capacity or with PJM, capacity is that price that goes towards generators maintaining reliability and availability It's factored by looking at the PJM capacity price, which is the price that was just released for calendar year 2025, 2026, multiplied by the customer's peak load contribution, or PLC, and that's going to be their total capacity price. That is going to be the cost that then gets distributed out per kilowatt hour. So if your consumption is huge and your capacity obligation is low, that's going to look like a smaller portion of your cost, versus if you have a very high capacity value and only a little bit of consumption, only a limited number of kilowatt hours on which to distribute that cost, you're going to see a much higher capacity cost per kilowatt hour. And just so everybody knows, the customer PLC, that peak load contribution, that is the customer specific level of demand on the 5 highest demand grid days for PJM. We don't know exactly when those days are going to be, but if customers are have flexible load, if they are able to alter their behavior, their operations, then it may be possible to do some peak load shaving. Any customer who has that type of flexibility is an absolutely great customer for a couple different reasons. I'm sure Scott will go into this a little bit in just a minute, but those guys are going to be good demand response candidates. They're going to be great candidates for complex products that allow them to really capitalize on the risk that any risk that they're taking on. And we can help them navigate that situation. So if your customers are seeing these changes, if they're concerned about these cost increases, then reach out to us. We're happy to help with those conversations. And I think we'll go a little bit more into the strategic solutions that we can offer to help these customers on the next slide. Scott, did you want to start here, or do you want to do the last one?
I'll do the next one. You take this one.
Okay, cool. So we're talking about it a little bit already, but we are happy to review contracts and advise specific customers on whether they will be subject to adjustments. We can provide estimates of the potential adjustments that will hit within the year, so you'll be able to provide your customer with an approximate value. You can also tell the customers, and I think we did touch on this a little bit, but these costs are going to hit them regardless of whether they're in a fixed agreement, regardless of whether they're on a variable agreement, and regardless of whether or not they are with the local utility. If they are on a standard offer service or they are on a default energy supply, they are going to be seeing these as well. Remember that that capacity is a more or less regulated component that is applied generally. It's not something that is a supplier specific cost, and suppliers are responsible for somewhat the way they forecast it, but they're plugging in the same values that the utility plugs in. It's going to be the PLC and the actual cost of capacity. So these are things that, yes, while they change over time, they're going to be hitting everybody. Some suppliers that we know are employing strategies like averaging capacity prices over the past 3 years in order to lower the contract price, and embedding language in contracts, which makes it less obvious that, of course, there's going to be adjustments if you are extending your contract tenor into unknown years where capacity is unknown. So that's anything June 2026 and beyond. If it would be helpful, the Box team is happy to review any contract sent to the customer so that the customer has an apples to apples comparison. We don't care whether or not the contract comes from us. I mean, obviously we prefer to be providing customers with contracts from Box suppliers for Box agents. But if we have some competition and the customer is looking at 2 different prices and they want to make sure that they're looking apples to apples, we'll review any contract for free, and just be able to let them know what it really says, how it really means that their costs could change or won't change, and really make that comparison for them. Comparing rates for contracts extending beyond May 2025 with the current PTC rates probably doesn't provide an accurate picture. This is why whenever we use PTC data to forecast any sort of savings, any sort of value, and you're comparing against the local utility, it's really difficult to make that sort of comparison just because those are 2 different products. It's going to be apples and zucchinis. It's going to be something where a supplier is offering a fixed price over a given term versus the utility who is offering a variable price for all of their customers in accordance with however they figure those default prices. So it's Again, just not an apples to apples comparison. We can always make those comparisons in order to demonstrate the value of different products, but you just have to know that current PTC rates are going to change. Retail rates are going to change, especially considering these anticipated capacity rate increases in PJM. Those hikes are likely to result in higher PTC rates once they're released, once they take effect. So it should expect to see some jumps whenever utilities start releasing the PTCs. Anybody who releases in advance, whether it's, I know Ohio releases in advance, and we've got others, Maryland and BGE definitely does as well, that they're setting those rates out into the future, and those future rates will have these increases factored in. So we can expect PTC rates to go up, but remember that utilities work on a little bit of a lag versus the real-time market, and suppliers are forward-looking. So it's a little bit just different in terms of what information you're comparing. The Box team advises customers to consider using a total capacity pass-through product for a few different reasons. Number one, it guarantees customers receive adjustments if capacity prices decrease in the future. If you're passing this product through, that means that the supplier isn't forecasting it. There's no risk premium associated with it. Yes, the costs are going to move in accordance with whatever the entire ISOs or RTOs auction says, but they're going to be paying costs without markup. And when these costs are seeing the movement that they do, maybe it's best, if they can, to avoid any risk premium and to remove that risk from the supplier side as well. Really, it's just removing that risk of overpayment and over-insuring. It also provides full transparency and ensures fairness when comparing suppliers. As we mentioned, several of our partner suppliers are releasing products that are just a little bit different flavors in terms of the contract language and the component treatment. And so passing that product through really just removes all of that noise and says, hey, it's going to be passed through, completely, no markup, just pass through at cost from supplier A and supplier B and supplier C. So it can remove some of that gray area. Like we talked about, it also avoids that risk premium. So understanding that we had such a big jump, obviously those risk premiums are going to be a little bit higher than they have been in years past as well. So on top of the actual increase in capacity price, you're going to see an increase in that premium. We can avoid it altogether if the customer is willing to pass through capacity. Again, it's a more or less regulated component. And so there's, not a whole lot. It's really customer preference as far as, do you want this cost in your number, or is it sufficient for me to give you an estimate, year over year or month over month, to let you know, is it sufficient for us to audit your bills and to do some reconciliation should we see fit? Another thing that we're happy to do for any customer. And this also offers lower costs at the beginning of the contract if the term starts before June of 2025, because you won't have that risk premium factored in, you won't have the capacity increase factored in. You'll basically be able to jump onto a fixed rate with passing through capacity at current rates, which are really, really low. So there's a lot here. If you are interested in talking about these strategies, we totally understand that some of us may not be as well versed in capacity. Some of us may not be as well versed or as comfortable having these conversations. And I want you guys to know we are here to back you up. We are here to help. We're here to give you any sort of marketing material, any sort of educational resources, anything that we can do, whether it's this webinar or tailoring something to a specific customer. We're happy to do it if it's helpful. That's one of the huge benefits of working with Box, is that we're able to take all of these resources and boil it down to something that is digestible for the layperson, or that's the hope. And I know Scott wanted to review our last slide here, how to leverage this event to increase business. So
yes. Thank you, Allie. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I always look at things like, okay, wow, this looks like a catastrophe, and this is basically turning lemons into lemonade, and really trying to find ways like, how are we going to do this? Because remember, we're competing. I mean, as broker consultants agents here, we're competing against other broker consultants agents, right? And I know from my experience in this industry how a lot of them will handle this. One is they may not understand it and they may just choose not to communicate it. Two, it's bad news. It's not delivering good news to the customer, and people don't want to deliver bad news. And that's a difference, again, between a good partner and a bad partner, right? I mean, it's communication, good and bad. And so with that, though, customers, you always put yourself in the shoes of a customer. And when you're in those shoes and somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I just want to let you know, this is going to happen in the future. And just want to let you know so you can prepare for it, the budget wise. But we also have some solutions to get around that, and ways we're going to contract in the future, ways we can reduce some costs with some demand response, PLC things. That builds trust. Every time that will build trust. So I think it's really important. This is a great opportunity to build trust, and it's not just with current customers. It's with those prospects. It's with those other customers out there that their brokers are afraid to make that call. And you're the one that's going to bring that, and they're going to say, "Oh, why didn't my broker call me on this? Why am I hearing this from you? I should be hearing this from him or her." And so that's why, one, it's important to get in front of customers. Somebody else might get in front of them before you do. And number two, get in front of prospects as quickly as you can with this, and before their guy does, because you're the one that's delivering this news. It's really important. So again, so for existing customers, it's really important to hear your advisor reinforce relationships. For prospects, it can help build a strong customer relationship, start building that relationship. And there's multiple ways to really kind of utilize this. And that is just kind of utilizing our team here. We have strategies to mitigate the cost increases, including the PLC management, which we're going to really up this program for next year, make it really dynamic for next summer, because now more than ever, it's important to you can manage those peak load contributions. And also demand response. These are programs that pay out the capacity price to you for what you cut. So if you can cut even just 400 kW for 1 hour, and there's no grid emergencies anymore, like there hasn't been for like 8 years in PJM, but just that one time a year, you need a cut for 1 hour, and you can do that for even like 400 kW. That's going to pay a customer in that like 30 grand range just for doing that for 1 hour. Whereas before it was maybe 4 or 5 grand. And so now it makes it a lot more worth it. We have really vetted out our partners in that area as well. But also, we can discuss better methods of contracting that our agents are likely not presenting. And they're showing them ways that, hey, you should be passing through this capacity. We've been saying it forever, but now it's really important because, of course, a lot of these suppliers are putting in there basing off of, and really the kind of a fair way of like, hey, here's the latest capacity price. We're going to put this capacity price going forward. And so it's a better way of presenting that. And also just telling them, hey, there's confusion out there. We're going to help you figure this out in contracting to make sure you got an apples to apples comparison, make sure the contract language is in there. But if the price of capacity comes off, bam, they should be getting an adjustment. We'll work on making sure they can get that adjustment, and you can too. These are advantages that you can put out there and differentiate yourself from others. It can be your difference, just like we have a box difference, we call it. It can be your consulting, ABC consulting difference. And then also just utilize our team here. We can pretty quickly review contracts. We've seen them all. From Ellie and I think I've read every single contract like 10 times, so we know kind of where this language is at. We can figure out like if there's going to be issues and what adjustments will be for their current contract if it goes through that period. And we can also provide like a bunch of things. So we can quickly, with just a copy of a bill, relatively speaking, we can pretty much be able to get a budget impact that is likely going to be once that hits with the capacity, how much their costs will go up. We can make a really good estimate on that. It's pretty quick. So just ask your AE. We can get that for them. And so this is not only just for your current customers, this is a great way of a lead in on like initial conversation, cold call, cold email to just say, hey, PJM prices have gone up, blah, blah, blah. There's gonna be an impact on your budget of 15 plus percent. Let us, we can help you figure out what this is and have some solutions around it. I don't know. I think it will work because it's gonna, sell some fear a little bit. Like, hey, this is going up. What's gonna happen to me? I don't know. How can I take care of it? And you're offering like, hey, I'm not even gonna look it up and tell you what your budget is, and explain it to you, but also figure out ways, solutions. So again, use this great opportunity to leverage the event to increase business. I don't know what politicians said it, but basically they said like never let a crisis go to waste. I don't know. Do you remember what politician said that? One of the presidents said it. It was part of their thing. I don't know. But it was like never let a crisis go to waste. Same thing here. Don't let this crisis go to waste. Leverage it for new and existing customers. So that's all we have today. And now we got time for some questions. I don't understand this one here. Let me see here. Can you elaborate on having the first year lower on a multi-year contract? Is it two separate agreements or one that evolves? I think you're talking about, and if we're incorrect on this, just send a note to your AE and we'll clarify it for you. But I believe this is when there is when Ellie was talking about when you're contracting and it goes through. So say this contract starting now, and of course this doesn't take place the next year. If you have a capacity pass through, that capacity item is going to be separately billed on the same, not separately billed, but on a line item. So if you have a 3-year contract and it starts now and it goes through August of 28, or 4-year contract goes through August of 28, what they're going to do in that bundled price is they're going to bundle in that higher capacity price. So everything's bundled. So you're going to have right away, you're going to be paying that higher price because this capacity is averaged in throughout those years. Where if it's passed through and the line item, a separate line item, you're paying the true capacity cost for now. So your capacity prices won't, and that line item won't increase until actually June of 2025. So hopefully that explains that. It is just one agreement. And then another question here, when will the auction for the 26-27 take place, planning year? And I already see another question here about what a planning year is. So yeah, planning year is basically how PJM looks at it, and they look at it as like the year for these capacities, like June through May period. And that auction is supposed to take place in December. I don't have the exact date in December. It's early December, I know that. But that's going to be extremely interesting to see what happens there as well. So with that, I don't see really any other questions. No, Ellie, anything else to add?
No, I think we're good. If you guys want to talk any more about capacity, I think Lauren mentioned it last time, we're energy nerds and nerdettes over here. So we are happy to have to have more conversations and talk about specific customers or just in general. We love having these conversations, and we're here for you guys to help all of us, to help all of us win. We're all on the same team, so happy to come in and back you up however we can, whatever we can do.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Again, this is our team here. We're here to serve you. We have the same goals. We're aligned in closing business. That's what we all want to do. We all want to help you guys close business and close as much business and really, continue helping out these customers and helping you guys grow your business and evolve and be successful. So let us know anywhere we can help. And have a great rest of the month, and we'll be talking to you next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.